Apparently this director is best known for Bond films, Dr. No from Russia with Love and Thunderball, which I thought was interesting because, I mean, to me, I love Bond, but this is way better. Hello and welcome to Girlfright. I'm Annie and this is Rachel. And today we're going to be talking about the film Wait Until Dark from 1968 and the film Mute Witness from 1995, I believe. Nearly 10 years did it dirty there. I actually hadn't seen either of these films before I chose to review them. I was really looking forward to Wait Until Dark, and I have to say it didn't disappoint.
Yeah, both of these movies for me were completely new, and
I enjoyed both of them a lot.
Really, really enjoyed. For me, my favourite was Mute Witness. They're both quite linked together in one way.
Yeah.
They're both of the
as in both of the leading ladies have disabilities. In Wait Until Dark, Audrey Hepburn is blind. Audrey Hepburn's character Susie.
Yeah, Susie. She plays a blind woman.
Yeah, and in Mute Witness, the lead character Billy is mute. Oh, mute, obviously.
Yeah.
Surprising. Yeah, and both of the films kind of incorporate how they handle the film situation they're in. And how they go about doing it with these disabilities.
Just how much more intelligent they are than the people who have all of their abilities and senses.
Yeah, well, that's
just the kick-ass ladies.
That's something I particularly picked up on
really
Wait Until Dark.
That.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have certain, girlish tropes about them, girlish horror tropes, but in general, they're really just kick-ass ladies.
Yeah, they
especially Mute Witness. She's just like... And then Wait Until Dark.
Yeah, apparently this was a hit at the time. It was out in 1968. I asked my mum, did she remember it, but she did not remember it. Maybe she's a bit too young, though. She was born in 63, so... I would have known at the time if I was 5.
Not everyone brings up their children like your mother.
No, my gran was like the Von Trapps.
You.
Apparently, they did a thing in the cinemas when this was released where they had the lights dimmed in the beginning to the lowest...
This is Wait Until Dark.
Yeah, the lowest possible allowed level. Yeah. And then as the film progressed, they knocked them all out and had everybody in complete darkness.
They were also, at the time, smoking was allowed indoors. They banned people from smoking after a certain point in the movie.
Yeah.
To keep it dark.
Visibility.
Keep the visibility in the cinema as dark as possible.
So alien that people could smoke inside. I mean, I was there, I remember it, and it's still alien to me now because it's been so long.
Yeah, so the character that Audrey Hepburn plays, she's as
Audrey Hepburn.
Plays a blind woman, but her and Terence Young, the director, apparently visited a school for the blind to do research and learn more about the visually impaired. And Audrey Hepburn learned to read Braille as well. But she's just amazing.
Yeah, I love Audrey Hepburn. Apparently this director is best known for Bond films, Dr. No from Russia with Love and Thunderball, which I thought was interesting because, I mean, to me, I love Bond, but this is way better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not that Bond doesn't take some talent to put together as Bond, but I much prefer this.
These days it just seems to be running and driving and running and driving and running and
I still love
driving.
Bond. I do. Running. Sorry. I noticed straight away as well that this was rated 12, and when I see a 12 or a 15 rating, I think there's either it's not going to be very scary or it's going to have to be inventive to be scary because they're not allowed to show this graphic sort of gore and this turned out to be one of them that gets quite clever with its thriller elements, so I do appreciate that. But you find that the 15s and the 12s are either the best or the worst ones. I don't really pitch them in the middle often.
The connection with Audrey Hepburn and the director, when Audrey was 16, she was a nurse in the army, and she met Terence Young, who was a young veteran at the time.
All right.
And this film was made 20 years after that, so they worked together 20 years after that. But the first time that they met, Terence Young, he was
That's cool.
an injured veteran.
No, that's cool.
So first scene.
Yeah.
That it was cutting into the silk doll.
Yeah, the scalpel on the red fabric automatically
Yeah.
is supposed to make that visual connection, isn't it?
Yeah, but sort of already the idea of
Blood will be shed.
tainting innocence and beauty.
I noticed that with the styling of it, you can already tell that it's going to be amazing. Like Lisa, the character that we're watching at that point with the big hair and the big fur coat, it reminded me of, and the music as well, it reminded me of the original series of Dark Shadows. I don't know if you've heard of it. There was a Johnny Depp remake recently, which is absolute blasphemy as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, actually I've seen that. It does look...
They are not.
Awful.
They shouldn't even bear the same name, in my opinion. Anyway, the original series was from the 60s and 70s, and it was amazing. It's one of my favourite things, and just the visuals just made me think of that, and that made me really happy. So I like this film to begin with.
The premise of the story is the main character.
Lisa. Oh no, Susie. Susie's Audrey Hepburn. Yeah.
She it doesn't actually turn up in the film until about 15, 20 minutes in.
Yeah, but we initially have the aforementioned Lisa, don't we, smuggling the doll into Canada, I believe.
Yeah, and the doll is filled with
bags of heroin.
Yeah.
And one thing that I noticed though is that the characters in this are so like not inconspicuous at all.
Yeah,
like
very very typical sort of over the top. Like I'm a villain. I'm a bad guy.
I'm going to smuggle drugs, so obviously I'm going to have a beehive and a massive fur coat, and I'm going to be physically carrying the doll full of heroin on the plane with me. And then when you get off the plane, there's a fella in like a trench coat and glasses just staring at you like, It's like you're all so inconspicuous. You're so going to get away with this. But
at the airport,
can I suggest a hoodie and some sweatpants?
Yeah, just go cash, guys.
Yeah, but Lisa is intimidated by this fella staring at her, so she just offloads the doll to somebody,
a random stranger.
Yeah, which turns out to be Audrey Hepburn's character's husband, Sam, which starts this whole ball rolling.
Right. Yeah. So that is where the drama begins. Mm-hmm. So I think this is more of a thriller. I'd say like it's not full of gore. It's sort of clever.
Builds up tension, and it's
clever building up tension.
I mean, I did enjoy it quite a lot. Like there's two stooges almost. I mean, there's almost comedy at this point, but I think that's supposed to be in contrast to the third fella wrote, who, you know, he reminded me. Again, another little thing of I love Good Omens. He reminded me of Crowley from Good Omens in his 1970s garb. Like I looked up pictures on the internet the other day, and
I love that character.
They are almost identical, Rote and this fella and Crowley, and I couldn't take him seriously for about 5 minutes. But
I couldn't take him seriously the entire movie.
he does become quite menacing at certain points, though, especially towards the end. But they want to get the doll from Audrey Hepburn's character and go through a series of almost little set pieces. Some of them are like slapstick comedy, some of them are not.
They're trying to trick.
Yeah, they're trying to make her feel really vulnerable, so that she relies on one of them.
But what they don't realise is that she
is not as vulnerable as she's not. They think that because she's a blind lady. Who's on her own, that they can take the mickey. Like they do things like play with the blinds to communicate with each other outside, stuff like that. You know, the Mr. Rote character, he comes in 3 times in different disguises, 3 times if you include himself.
She notices the sound of his shoes.
He's got the same shoes on, and she's like, "They, you know,
they were." Yeah, they had the same shoes.
Yeah, and she notices people have been playing with the blinds, even though it's winter, so it should be dark. So you know, she's not in the dark about anything. She gets onto the fact that something's wrong straight away. And I like the way that later on in the film as well, she really uses like their stupidity against them, and they think that she's vulnerable and she isn't. She smashes all of the lights at one point. That's kind of the way.
It's like wait until dark.
Yeah.
So as things progress, she's waiting for the villains, I guess, to come back. They're outside her house, but they're going to come in.
I mean, at this point, she's aware of what's going on at this point, and she's got the neighbour upstairs, Gloria, to like the child to keep Dixie in the flat upstairs, because she keeps on realising that they play with the blinds, and then she gets phone calls.
Yeah.
It's like she's making the connections.
So she gets Gloria to phone her every time she sees someone going into the phone booth across the road. Yeah, so she also has a little signal tapping the pipes, so she can
communicate with Gloria.
Just really intelligent lady.
Yeah, like she knows exactly what's going on around her, and the idea is like in the dark, a vision isn't a factor. She knows how to make an even playing field, and in that even playing field, she's a lot cleverer than they are.
Yeah, it sort of it made me kind of think of the film Bird Box.
Yeah,
a little bit, because they have to live their entire lives sort of with blindfolds on, or they will get got.
Yeah,
essentially.
Got.
But and then I don't know if I should spoil this one too. But
spoiler.
But blind, if you're blind, you don't have that issue, and you
can just live happily because you're not
live
seeing.
With the society, with everything around you. You learn to understand it and make your own way around it.
No, absolutely, and figure out your own ways of being.
Yeah, and that's what she can do, and that's why like she knows that she can smash all the lamps and be in the dark.
And she fills a plant pot with acid.
Yeah, top notch stuff.
Top hole.
I absolutely jumped out of my skin when they crashed into the guy in the car park. They had
my goodness
moments of musical crescendo, and I jumped out of my chair.
In my notes on that particular section, I've got car screeches, shat pants. So it does have moments of as I say, not horror, but there's a lot of moments that will have you on the edge of your seat. It is a good suspenseful film with jumpy bits, and it definitely does the job. I really enjoyed it.
So when she's sort of being baited or sort of not really tortured, but she's at the mercy of the villain, and he's again like it's sort of in reference to the start, maybe with the silk and stuff. He starts using soft materials, and he's just sort of playing them around her face
and matches as well
in a really like intimidating way. But it's like using soft materials, but instilling the same amount of fear. She doesn't know what's touching her or what's around her.
Yeah, from that I kind of took it, like earlier on she says, fire isn't my favourite thing because of the smoke and stuff like that. So he's basically, I thought he was attacking her in a way that gets to her because she uses her senses. So they're things that are going to scare her rather than, because whatever else he's done isn't scaring her because she's not scareable that way. But fire and things that she moving that she can't see, moving around her like that. So thing.
Yeah, and when she manages to stab him, there's a massive, again, musical tone.
Yeah, I enjoyed the music in this.
Really brings the just the fear of the moment together. And she's walking away. She's going to try and escape through the window.
It's Chekhov's gun in the fact that they say in the beginning there's no back door in this apartment.
And that is the moment. That was my moment in the movie when he leaps from the floor like some sort of strange cheetah.
Ninja flying rote is what
or a flying bat. And I was like...
that did take me back a little bit.
I swallowed my own tongue, which I actually think I might have. It's still down there.
To be fair, anything that happened to Rote was his own fault because he was an ass bag.
Yeah, just a tad.
But the bit where it's like she's got the matches, she's smashed all the lights, and he's got the cane. Like she's got the best of him at this point. She's like, keep tapping, so I know where you are. And he's tapping the cane, and she's striking a match, and it's going out. Strike another match, and it's going out slowly. And I just thought that was really suspenseful because you expect every time she strikes a new one for him to be like right there. I mean, he never is, but it's good for building that suspense. I mean, this film was
absolutely.
good at that. I did enjoy it a lot. No, I felt it was like a really positive commentary on disability, though, on blindness, because she's obviously not at a detriment because of it.
Yeah,
It just kind
you
of
know,
it exists, and she has to adapt, but it doesn't make her any more or
yeah.
less vulnerable than a seeing person would be in this situation. She's worked her own ways around.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, she seems sort of helpless, but
Said she's not a very good blind lady, and in the end, she's champion blind
but yeah,
lady.
she proves herself to be more than capable than her male counterparts.
Yeah, because she's got another
Well, in
skill
general,
set.
he will have all of their senses. She's
Yeah.
badass lady. Moving on to badass lady number 2.
We should
I
move on to
think.
badass lady number 2, which is Mute Witness from 1995. Now, this is a Russian, British, German film which was shot in Moscow primarily.
Yes, yeah, another thriller.
I
horror.
expected it to be super arty, considering that, but it wasn't super arty. I did really enjoy it though, actually. I mean, it starts with like a detuned radio, and you think it's sudden scary music and all these horror tropes. It looks
it starts with all the horror cliches.
it looks exactly like the beginning of
heavy,
Halloween.
Heavy breathing, like
killer's eye view.
point of view shots, close-ups.
It's exactly the same as the beginning of Halloween. With
Uneasy music, mirror shots.
Yeah, and you're like, what's
Everything
going on?
everything that you want in a good horror.
Yeah, we're obviously
moment.
at the business end of a slasher here.
Yeah.
Then
Then
the woman gets stabbed, and it has this weird sinister moment where everybody's standing there just staring, and there's this really long shot over people's faces, and it's like
she starts to just barrel into everything, and it keeps going. And as the scene progresses, you realise that it's actually a movie set, and people are just starting to laugh at her.
yeah, but there's a minute of tension there where you're not entirely, you're like, this is going on a bit long, like what? And considering that you know what the film's about, you're like,
And it's quite humorous, really. This.
yeah. No, it reminds me of I'm not sure if you've seen it, the original Buffy film where one of the vampires gets staked, and he's doing this big hammy death scene for about 5 minutes. He's in a doorway and he's like,
Well, I can personally, I've had an experience of that. When I was in high school, I was in Oliver, and I think it was my final year of high school. So, and they're supposed to give you a good part, and they gave me the part of the old lady. The old lady that dies in the same scene, but it is integral to the plot because I tell them who Oliver is. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I made her a drunk, and and I took about 5 minutes to die. And the girl that was waiting for me to say Oliver's name, I was like, his name. And I literally did it for about 5 minutes, and everyone in the audience started laughing, and it's the beginning of my career.
and then
And the end of my career. Yeah, they actually told me not to do it on the rest of the night. So. But everyone thought it was funny.
I'm sure they did.
Anyway,
the music in this film I thought was interesting because in the beginning it comes across, it's like throughout the film it's like proper horror music, but in the beginning it comes across as something like you might hear in like a Midsummer Murders or a fantasy film or something. It's nowhere near as heavy or, horror-y. I mean, I don't have a better word for that. I wish I did, but I don't. Horror-y. As it progresses though, like Billy, the main character, gets locked in the filming lot overnight, and the music gets more and more horror-y.
Yeah. So it starts with
horror.
To introduce Billy, she is a makeup artist for the studio.
For this awful
she's
film.
Working on a film located in
for this really dreadful film. I'm sure I would love it.
Yeah. And as Annie said, she gets locked into the studio after hours. Mm-hmm. While she's there, she can't get hold of her sister, who was also living in Moscow. And
yeah, she has some difficulties communicating on the phone, obviously being mute as well. So she has to kind of like tap and things. But she hears people are still in the lot when they're not supposed to be, and it turns out that they're filming rudery. And then
Rudery.
the rudery then turns into slappy, then turns into stabby.
Yeah.
And we get this really zoom in, like, on the woman's face.
Yeah.
And
Straight into her eyes.
Yeah, which happens a few times throughout the film, and it's even mentioned at one point, isn't it? You know, the look on people's face. You can tell if it's real fear and if it's really what's happening to them.
Yeah, there's
So that does.
they know they're going to die.
That gets
face.
used. Yeah.
So yeah, she witnesses this murder and obviously doesn't go unnoticed in the building.
No, we go on
And
a
it's
big, massive goose chase.
yeah, game of cat and mouse.
More corridors.
Lots of corridors.
Our
Again, very
Our favourite
shining.
thing. Yeah.
Very shining-esque.
However, I thought, and maybe this is just me because I've watched too many horror films, there's nothing apart from the obvious murder element that's making this guy particularly terrifying at this point.
Yeah, it sort of seems a bit comical in a way.
Yeah.
And like, he doesn't really know what he's doing.
I mean, she's trying really, really hard to get away from these guys, and, you know, apart from what she's just witnessed, which, okay, is a problem.
Yeah, they don't actually notice her presence for quite a long time.
No, but she knocks things over, doesn't she?
She knocks something over and then picks it up, and I don't really... She manages to, like, get away in general.
I don't know, maybe that's a more realistic reaction in life, though. I mean, like, when it comes to films, I'm hard as nails, but in actual real life, I'm really easily startled. I jump at everything. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Very clumsy.
I'm quite a blunt instrument.
It's
really.
so easy to make judgment on these characters and say that I would do it better. I would not. I would have shat my pants.
Yeah, multiple times probably. But
So, and that scene sort of they referenced the Reaper, who at this point we have yet to meet.
Yeah.
Or know who it is, but
in that like chase where they're after her in the place, so there was like a really nice little visual bit that I liked where she's running around and we don't know where she's running around, and it turns out she's on the set, and the fella goes into the booth and turns the lights on, and
she's running between scenes.
Yeah, she looks
with the
like
lights turning on.
She looks like a hamster in like a maze almost.
So
it's like she's really being got. But one thing I noticed as well is obviously she manages to get out. Her sister turns up because she knows that something's wrong. The police get called, and one thing that I noticed is that a lot of people seem to underestimate her because of her disability. Like, they seem to think that because she's mute, like, she doesn't know what's going on, or that she's confused, or she's misread the situation. She's genuinely terrified. Do you know what I mean? And, like, that's a contrast to Wait Until Dark, because nobody really doesn't take Audrey Hepburn's character seriously. Whereas in this, it kind of seems like they infantilize her a little bit.
Yeah, you know, just constantly as this film goes on, she just surprises me, the main character, more and more. Like, so after this, after the police come and the murderers manage to cover it up, pretending that it's, you know, a horror movie, that they were testing some gore and blood and
they said they didn't want to tell her that they were running another test on the special effects in case they offended her. And that was why they were doing it in the dead of night.
So she goes back to her apartment after, and they send someone out to attack her. And this is when she really just I really began to love Billy, really, because she doesn't just hold her own; she electrocutes someone and starts throwing knives everywhere, but like throwing them.
I really like the neighbour downstairs for the comedy element. Like, it keeps on coming back to him every so often. I mean, he's a bit annoyed at first, and then he's a bit more annoyed the second time we come back, and in the end, he's absolutely like apoplectic with rage. Yeah. It's so really
in a
funny.
flat, obviously she's upstairs, and you keep cutting from this fight scene to downstairs, and this guy's just like and starts to like, you know, get his broomstick on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And eventually storms up into a crazy broken scene. Everything smashed and dead people everywhere.
Well, Billy escapes, doesn't she, with the chap that comes in, and she escapes with him, and then her sister and the sister's boyfriend are going up in the lift.
As she's going down the stairs.
As she's going down the stairs, and they turn up and they start fighting with the police, and it just turns into slapstick chaos.
Yeah. I scream here, you smash there. And even just the comedy hitting someone over the head with a chair.
Get
Move.
Faye Ripley is in it. Get the chair.
It's
What chair?
beautiful.
The chair. The chair.
The chair.
Like it matters. But Larson is the chap that I was trying to remember the name of.
Awesome.
One thing that I did have a bit of a criticism of with this film, though, is I feel like the comedy kind of took away from the film a little bit. But I kind of felt like if you'd have taken out the comedy elements, it could have been a really scary thriller and a really intense thriller. If you took out the thriller element, it could have almost been like a Christmas film.
Yeah,
like this slapstick humour.
Oh,
I felt like
I can see that now. Yeah, like a Home Alone, but you know.
Yes, yeah. I felt like they rubbed together a bit weirdly, and I enjoyed this sometimes. But when they were really going for intensity, like especially towards the end of the film, when they were really trying to get that intensity in it, I think that the comedy maybe took away a bit from the build-up that they could have achieved. Whereas in bits where it's less intense, I liked the note that they hit with the comedy. Like, I'm up for a bit of slapstick. But that was my main criticism of the film. I think maybe towards the end they should have eased off on the funnies a little bit.
And just gone into the serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit... I really enjoyed the whole thing. But I think that's probably because you are totally into always being scared. And it was nice to occasionally have a bit of comic relief for me.
I like comic relief. I don't know. I felt like the two tones kind of rubbed together a bit awkwardly at some points, but I also really liked them at others.
Yeah.
So I did like this film in general.
Yeah, there was a few twists as well.
The Larson character.
Yeah, I mean, first of all,
I didn't trust him from the off.
And I liked that when she didn't trust him, she handcuffed him to the wheel and jumped out.
He said the Reaper thinks I work for him. I'm a double agent, and all of a sudden,
like, well, I think you work for him too, love.
All of a sudden, she was just like, nope, handcuffed to the wheel. Don't trust you. And then she gets out, and then she's like, no, lesser of two evils, get back in.
Well, it's either one or the other. It's either the guy running at me with a knife or the guy that's handcuffed to a wheel. So I choose a guy handcuffed to a wheel. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you work with what you got, I suppose. I've got a funny in my notes here. Beginning to think that the police arresting Kate and Andy aren't police. Then again, Moscow.
Yeah, they all seem to. Everyone that turns up in a police uniform in this film, don't assume that they're police.
I didn't know if the police were just really heavy-handed. I didn't know if they were just being like a bit of like a stereotypical, KGB sort of situation. One of the other chaps earlier on goes, "Oh, my mother was a translator. Oh, what for a university? No, the KGB." Tumbleweeds. I like that. They do have a nice little turn of phrase in this film.
It's funny.
No, as we get into the last roller coaster of this film,
and they go back to the studio.
And there's a big whole load of guys all over the place with the Reaper, and they've got guns. So they're surrounding the place.
These gang members are trying to find this diskette.
I'm not sure what a diskette
full
is.
Of secrets.
I imagine it's like a mini disc.
It's like a mini disc.
Yeah.
They get smaller these days.
So. That was 1995. I think that was probably the height of technology.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually surprised it was that small. Oh. But no innuendo intended.
But it basically just does descend into chaos at the end. Like Kate and Andy, the sister, and the sister's boyfriend don't know who Larson is.
Director.
Yeah, / director. Like they don't know who Larson is, and they can see Larson's with Billy, and they think that he's part of like what's been a problem for her. Like with the phone calls and everything that's been going on. They can only hear the other end, and they probably think Larson's kidnapped her or something like that. So they're shooting at Larson.
They're attacking Larson.
They are attacking Larson.
Full front.
Yeah. Well, at one point, that's a bit later.
No, there is one moment where, I think that Billy's had it, when Larson...
Yeah. Spoilers.
Larson is in front of her, and she's just found the diskette.
Yeah.
And one of the
henchmen has got her around the neck.
Yeah, gets her around the neck and
with his
he's
gun.
Like, I had you, and then he
like acknowledges the henchman, and then it's like, oh no, Billy's misjudged this, hasn't she? Larson can't be trusted. He's a snake. But then he beans the henchman instead.
We all cheered.
So we're quite happy about that. But it's a bit of a problem that Billy can't communicate to the sister and her boyfriend that Larson is not the problem here. So
there's a lot of Billy noticing things, seeing things, trying to say something, and nobody
witnessing things. Some might say
either nobody listening to her,
or nobody taking her seriously. As I say, she does have a problem with this more so than Audrey Hepburn's character did. I felt so anyway. But Billy accidentally runs out to where all the guys with guns are, and wow, spoiler alert, Larson shoots Billy. But I think at this point we all know what's happened here, because we've seen enough times throughout the film that theatre blood, theatre makeup. It's another twist, guys. And did you feel like it was a twist?
Well,
did you see did you?
I guess I sort of did. But
I kind of assumed it was. Like, I was like, she's not dead. I just assumed that she wasn't dead. And then after a few seconds went past, I was like, she's not dead. Surely.
Some good makeup.
Surely she's not dead. And meanwhile, our character, Kate, played by Faye Ripley, is battering the hell out of Larson for shooting Billy. I
think the women in this film are just so much more intelligent and stronger than the males. She's proper
wailing on Larson.
Well, she thinks he just killed her sister.
Yeah, you would.
I would. He wouldn't have another second to live.
We do later on shortly, not late, find out that Billy's alive, and Larson is in fact a cop, and Kate says, next time hit back.
Well, and then they invite Larson for dinner.
Billy invites him for dinner, and it's all cute.
How adorable.
Yeah, it's all smiles until we see a car driving away, and the man in the back is the henchman from before who got beaten by Larson, and he's pulling the face of imminent death, which was spoken of earlier, and boom, the car goes up. But Larson jumps free.
Wait. So it's full of ups and downs, this movie. Of emotional moments where I think we're going to lose the heroine, or we think someone's going to die. Because
it was a proper up and down film. I mean, in terms of where it takes.
I was expecting more people to die, to be honest, and
it does actually have quite a low body count, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it.
For the amount of blood that's in it, most of it's fake blood.
True. I really enjoyed it, though. I mean, it was a good thriller. And I enjoyed the comedy elements as well. I just think that some of them were a little mistimed for what else they were trying to achieve with the film. But I thought it was great, and I thought that the portrayal of women with disabilities in this film, who, they are underestimated by the people around them. Like Billy, I mean, even people who are on Billy's side think that she's, because she's mute, she's not as with it as they are. And the baddies underestimate Audrey Hepburn's character, Susie. But her husband and Gloria don't, so that's at least a little bit more better representation for her. But I like the fact that both of them really overcome this problem, and they learn a whole new skill set. So they're not at a less than, they're at a more than in the end.
Definitely. Yeah, you see the progression of the women in the movie. And I think with Audrey Hepburn's character, Susie especially, she's unsure of herself in the beginning. Yeah. And then she knows at the end that she's capable.
She does. And on that note, we're going to have to wrap up this episode of Girlfright. So thanks for listening to us and our assessment of Wait Until Dark and Mute Witness. And we'll see you next time.